The village of Elaiomi, its foundations were rooted in age-old tradition. The air buzzed with the pulse of modernity. Mud huts stood beside concrete bungalows. Women pounded yam under the shade of satellite dishes, and children played football barefoot while texting on cheap Android phones. Elaiomi was a place of transition, but some things like secrets were as old as the land. In the heart of this changing village lived Akane, a respected man in his early 40s. His skin was the color of roasted cocoa, his hands thick and scarred from years of carpentry. A man of few words, he built furniture for the town and peace for his soul. His past in the city's military unit was behind him now, buried beneath planks and hammer blows. His wife, Marounkarji, was the village rose. Tall, graceful, with skin smooth as shea butter and eyes that flickered like candlelight. She had arrived from Abadan 2 years ago, claiming her parents had died in a fire. Her seamstress shop was the envy of every woman in Elaiomi. She stitched Ankara like poetry, and her calm demeanor made her seem like a gift from the gods. But the whispers had begun. "She walks too quietly for a wife," the market women said. "I saw her at midnight by the well, talking to someone who disappeared into a black car," claimed Baba Ogunleye, the night guard. Akane, loyal to a fault, would silence them. Is it a crime to trust your own wife now? Still, doubt had begun to crack through his calm exterior, like termites in fine wood. The rain was relentless that night, drumming like war chants on the rusted zinc roof. Thunder cracked like the sky was splitting. Akane sat by the fire, sanding a piece of mahogany, when he noticed something strange. Marounkarji had gone to sleep early, but the pillow on her side was slightly raised, as if something was hidden beneath. He waited until her breathing grew steady and slow, the rhythm of deep sleep. Then, quietly, he slid his hand under the pillow and found a folded piece of paper. It was smooth, typed, and smelled faintly of perfume, her scent. The words were coded, but not enough for a man like Akane. He had worked with intelligence before. His mind decoded phrases instinctively. Package secured. Husband unaware. Names collected. Next extraction in 5 days. His heart slammed against his chest like a drum of war. He read the letter again. Then again. The signature was a serpent twisted into an infinity symbol. His past whispered to him. The serpent ring. It was the emblem of an underground political syndicate that used beauty and charm to infiltrate, collect, and destroy. He looked at Marounkarji, peaceful in sleep. Was she ever his? Or just a beautiful mask sent to cover his secrets? The following morning, Akane walked slowly to Ajadi's workshop. Ajadi, a tall man with a mechanical limp and deep laugh lines, had lost his leg in the war. His workshop smelled of petrol and roasted groundnuts, the twin perfumes of survival. "Brother," Akane said, his voice low, "I need your eyes on something." Ajadi looked at him sharply. "When your voice goes low like that, it means the past has come knocking." Akane handed him the letter. Ajadi read it twice, then once more out loud, as if hearing it would make it less real. "This mark," Ajadi pointed to the serpent symbol. "You remember Lagos, 2012? The operation in Oyo State? This is their print." Akane nodded, jaw clenched. "And she's part of it." Ajadi leaned closer. "If she is, then you're either her cover or her target. And if that list she mentions is what I think it is, then you're in the middle of a lion's mouth, my brother." Akane looked toward the rising sun. "I need to know more. And I need to do it quietly." Saad was only 12, but the lines on her brow aged her far beyond her years. Orphaned and taken in by Marounkarji as a house help, she rarely spoke unless spoken to. But she watched, always watched. She knew which cupboard Moran hid her secrets in. She knew which perfumes she wore only when going out at night. And she knew now that something was very wrong. That evening, Saad had crept behind the sitting room curtain when she heard Marounkarji on the phone. It was late, the lights dimmed. The woman who called Akane dear and served him pounded yam now spoke with a voice like steel. "Affirmative." He suspects nothing, Moran Karji whispered in fluent French, her tone controlled cold. The package is close. I will confirm extraction readiness tomorrow. Sada's small heart beat faster. The words meant little, but the tone said everything. She tiptoed back to her mat and pretended to sleep, eyes wide, breath shallow. The next day, while sweeping the veranda, she whispered to Akane, "Uncle, I saw her. I heard things. She's not who you think she is." Akane stared at her, a hammer paused in his hand. "What did you hear, Omomi? Tell me everything." She did. Every word. Every whisper. And with every detail, Akane felt his heart rot further. From that moment, Akane stopped being a husband. He became a shadow. A hunter. But a hunter does not run into the bush with a blazing torch. He plays the fool, bides his time. He brought her a new necklace the next day. A warm hug. Even a kiss on the forehead. "You're my peace, Moran," he said. She smiled gently, tilting her head. "You're in a sweet mood today, my husband." He chuckled. A man must cherish the woman who builds his home. But when night fell, Akane followed her. From a distance, through the thickets near the old cocoa shed. And there he saw her meet with a man in a black SUV. The Lagos plate numbers hidden with cloth. They exchanged something small. A flash drive. Then a hug. No kiss, but the way she leaned into him was too familiar. Akane's fingers dug into the bark of the tree he hid behind. His pulse drummed in his ears. But he said nothing. Not yet. Patience, he reminded himself again. Vengeance is not a bullet, it's a slow, seeping poison. The next few days were a theater of deceit. Akane cooked her favorite dish, yudu and umla, with his own hands. He took her to the town festival, laughed at her jokes, even held her hand while they watched the village masquerade dance under moonlight. But inside he was hollow. Every gesture, every word was measured. He was cataloging, calculating. He even offered to help her sew a new outfit for the Eid celebration, just to see where she hid her needles and patterns, and perhaps more. Late one night, after Moran slept, Akane went to her workshop behind the house. Using a key he had once carved for emergencies, he entered. There, behind the fabric shelf, he found it, a slim briefcase locked with digital code. But he knew Moran Karji's patterns. She often used dates and initials. He tried her birthday, then their wedding day. Nothing. Then he paused and tried his old military ID code. The lock clicked open. Inside were classified photos, maps of the village, and a list of names. Elders, council members, even a Ajadi. She wasn't just spying on him. She was infiltrating the entire village. "You have two choices," Ajadi said the next morning, pacing slowly, his limp heavier with rage. "Expose her and risk a quiet, professional disappearance. Or end it on your terms." Akane sat on a carved stool, shoulders hunched. "I took an oath. I was trained to end enemies, not sleep beside them." "Then think like the soldier you were," Ajadi snapped. "You're not fighting a wife. You're dismantling an operation." She chose the mask. "You didn't." Akane's knuckles were white on the edge of the stool. "I need her to confess. With her words. With her mouth. I want to hear the lie from her lips." Ajadi nodded grimly. "Then break her carefully. Set the bait. Make her think the package is moving. Make her panic. That's when spies make mistakes." Akane stood. "Then let the hunt begin." The following afternoon, Akane planted a simple trap. He borrowed Ajadi's old burner phone and sent a text to Moran from an unknown number. "The package will be moved tonight. Delay not permitted. Location change confirmed." He left the phone beside her sewing tools where she would find it. That evening, as he sharpened his tools in the backyard, he saw her pause, stare at the phone, and rush inside the workshop. Minutes later, her fingers were flying across her own phone. Saad, ever watchful, sat in the shadows. She later whispered to Akane. She called someone. She said, "We may be compromised." Then she packed the blue file, the one hidden in the hem of her red wrapper. The serpent was stirring, and it was afraid. Akane stood by the shrine of Ogun that evening, a place he hadn't visited in years. The iron god's altar was covered in rusted nails and faded red cloth. But tonight, Akane came not as a worshipper, but as a soldier asking the gods to watch a man do what he must. He had set a new trap. With Ajadi's help, they spread a whisper in the market that a missing village scroll containing old land secrets had resurfaced and would be delivered to the Baal that weekend. The scroll was fake, but the bait was real enough to tempt Moran to act. Saad, loyal and silent, helped again. She reported that Moran Karji made 2 more calls that night, her voice sharp and tense. She ordered someone to intercept the delivery and to ensure no link is found between her and the operation. Akane clenched his jaw. She was preparing her exit. That meant he was running out of time. On the morning of the supposed delivery, the Baal's compound buzzed with activity. Elders gathered, dressed in full agbada and embroidered fila. Palm wine flowed, drums thumped. It was all a smokescreen. Akane stood in the crowd, eyes constantly moving. He spotted Moran, dressed in a dazzling red iro and buba, with a geli that made her look like royalty. She smiled as she greeted the elders, as though she was merely a wife attending a village celebration. But her eyes told another story, restless, sharp, calculating. As the Baal stood to speak, a masked man slipped into the rear of the compound. Akane saw him first. He was lean, moved too fluidly for a villager, and his eyes avoided the crowd. Ajadi intercepted him calmly, pretending to greet an old friend. In one smooth motion, he disarmed him of a knife hidden in his agbada. The man tried to run, but 2 hunters closed in. Akane didn't move. Instead, he turned slowly to Moran Karji. She was already gone. Akane returned home before dusk. The house was silent. Too silent. Saad had gone to her aunt's for safety. Only 2 people remained in the building. Hunter and hunted. He found Moran Karji in the workshop, her face lit by the single yellow bulb overhead. She had changed out of her festive clothes and wore a simple wrapper. She didn't look surprised to see him. "I suppose it's over," she said softly. Akane didn't answer. He locked the door behind him and stepped forward. "Who are you working for, Moran? What was the mission?" She looked up slowly. "You already know. You found the files. You saw the map. You heard my calls. Why ask what you already know?" "Because I need to hear it from your lips," he growled. "Not for me. For you. For the gods." She laughed, a dry, bitter sound. "I was never meant to stay. You were just a stop. A shelter. But then, I almost believed the lie I created." "Did you ever love me?" he whispered. She blinked slowly. "No. But I pitied you." It was the final nail. Akane stood still, letting the weight of her confession burn through his veins. The memories of laughter, of shared meals, of nights wrapped in warmth, all ash now. "You won't leave this village," he said coldly. Moran Karji stepped back, an alarm flashing in her eyes. "You wouldn't. I'm still your wife." He shook his head. "My wife died the day I read that letter. Whatever you are now is an enemy." He pulled the hidden vial from his pocket. A clear liquid Saad had seen her use on her blade. A paralytic, enough to stop movement for an hour. He threw it at her feet. "Drink, or I hand you to the village. They'll do worse." Her lips trembled. "You were always more dangerous than I thought." She drank. Within minutes, her limbs locked. She collapsed gently like a falling cloth, her eyes still moving, pleading, but her mouth frozen. Akane knelt beside her. "Now you will watch as I burn every lie you planted." That night, smoke rose from the workshop. Flames licked the stars, and the smell of burning paper, cloth, and memories filled the air. Villagers rushed out, trying to understand what was happening. Akane stood silently, holding a single stool, the one he carved for her on their wedding day, and tossed it into the flames. Ajadi arrived, breathless. "She escaped." Akane shook his head. "She will not harm anyone again." Saad watched from behind the compound wall, eyes wide with both awe and grief. She knew what had happened, but she also knew Akane had done what he must. The next morning, Moraunkarji was gone. Some said she was sent far away, to a place where no name held meaning. Others whispered she had vanished into the woods, never to be seen again. Akane never confirmed either. He simply returned to his carpentry, hammer in hand, silence in his soul, and a warning in his eyes. Not all wives are what they seem. Weeks passed, and Ilaomi returned to its slow, rhythmic life. The Baal announced that the saboteur had been handled, but gave no name, no detail. The villagers whispered, guessed, speculated. Some thought Akane had become a hero. Others believed he had crossed a sacred line. His home was quiet, too quiet. The scent of Moraunkarji's soap no longer hung in the bedroom. Her clothes were gone. The chair where she used to wait for him remained untouched, gathering dust. Akane tried to return to his carvings, but the wood no longer spoke to him. His hands, once so sure, trembled. He carved a figure of a woman, head bowed, arms crossed, back turned. He smashed it with the heel of his palm. Ajadi visited often, trying to lift his spirit. You saved this village, brother. You stopped her. You protected our land. Akane stared at the fire. And lost myself in the process. One day, under the tall Udara tree near the shrine, Akane met Sod. She had grown quieter, more composed. She brought him a carved box, a gift she made in his workshop. You taught me how to shape wood, she said. Now maybe you need to learn how to shape forgiveness. He opened the box. Inside was a wooden ring, shaped from Irako wood, polished to a mirror-like shine. Simple. Unbroken. Akane smiled faintly. But tears rimmed his eyes. Forgiveness is for the living. Sod held his gaze. Then choose to live. Not just breathe. That night, Akane walked to the stream where he had first met Moraun. The moon was full, casting pale light on the water. He whispered a prayer to the ancestors, not for vengeance, not for peace, but for understanding. Then he took off his wedding band, kissed it, and dropped it into the stream. The next morning, they found his tools arranged neatly, a final carving on his workbench. A woman with two faces. One weeps. One smiles. Akane was never seen again. Some say he went into exile, others say he vanished into the forest of spirits. The village of Ilaomi still tells his story at moon festivals. Beware the love that wears a mask, for even the sweetest smile may hide a dagger.